Welcome to Yes Also. I'm Suzi Barrett, and my guest today is Adsit Eveleth. Adsit was an original member of the legendary Chicago team, The Reckoning. She does a two-person improv show with Scott Adsit called Adsit and Eveleth. She has toured with Second City, worked with Cirque du Soleil, and she runs Clown Church in LA. This episode spun my head a little bit. Adsit is so clearly an artist who thinks about comedy in such deep and profound ways that it really expanded my mind. As always, this is just the first half of our conversation. In part 2, we really deep dive into the nitty-gritty, and that is available for subscribers. You can become a subscriber by going to yesalso.supercast.com. It's only $8 a month. It's truly the cheapest masterclass you will ever pay for. For more Adsit, you can catch her performing with Scott Adsit at ImprovCon, which is August 20th through 23rd in San Diego. You can keep up with her LA happenings at her Instagram, Clown Church LA, and you can study with her. She has online workshops year-round, and we will put that link in our show notes for this episode. Okay, let's get to it. Here's Adsit. Hi, Adsit.
Hi.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt?
No, I'm totally ready.
Great. That's a little bit of theater for the folks at home. We've actually already been on here sound checking for a little while, but you wouldn't know that because we were acting.
Oh, that's my alarm. I'm going to shut it off. It's to say I have a podcast. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Perfect. I'm back. Okay.
Hurrah.
Great. Keep that close to me. What happened when I was gone?
Oh my God, so much. Let me catch you up. My alarm went off 4 times, it heightened too quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was too much.
We were just chatting that we have circled around each other for years and have so many mutual friends, and we've both seen each other perform, but have never met until now. And I'm such a fan of yours, and this is very exciting to I don't know, catch some of your wisdom in my little butterfly net.
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of yours too. So
you don't have to say that.
No, it's true. I mean, I remember that bit. There's a lot of bits I forgot. I was like, who the fuck is that? Oh, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I did a bit at I.O. that Adsit remembers where I showed my naked little ass. And, I have to say, I went to a Stamp Town show a year or so ago, and my best friend was sitting next to me, and it was the first time either of us had gone to a proper clown thing, and it was so good it made me cry, and I was like, oh, this is my voice, but my best friend leaned over and she goes, this is your comedy shit. That's what she's talking about. Just
totally.
The bit for the bit's sake, the pure comedy.
Yes.
Do we want to start there? Do we want to start in the world of clown where you are in the center now?
Sure. Well, because that bit you did was really, really stupid, but it was an exposed game. We knew the game, but you took it away from us, and then we missed it, and then you brought it back. You know, so it's that's the trick is anything works with great timing, and it's almost the simpler, the better, because we're super, super descended by the simplicity. And when we're descended, we're all the same. And that's what we want to feel. We want to feel like we're in a tribe again.
What do you mean we're distended by the simplicity? What do you mean?
So when something's really, really clever, we have to be in our heads and we have to be kind of trying to figure it out. And we have to figure out where it's going. And so there's just a lot of what we're doing naturally in life, which is trying to predict. When something's super simple, we're no longer trying to predict it. We're just in it in real time. And we're saying, no way is that person going to play that exact same game again. But then when you do it, and you do it in a way that is strangely artful, which is why timing is everything, the way you do it, the tempo that you do it, the rhythm that you do it, still makes us laugh because you keep it from us long enough that we crave it again. So you're basically playing peekaboo with us, but you're really good at it.
Yeah, that's the analogy I use all the time for comedy, even in verbal improv, even in, you know, game and resting the game. It's like we want the same thing. We just want you to find new ways to do it and longer intervals to rest it, and then the tease and then the put, and yeah. I bet you're aces at peekaboo. Are you really good at it?
You know, there's a few babies that love my stuff. There's some babies that don't. You know
what?
Fuck them.
Not everything is for everyone. Yeah. Some babies are born critics. Yeah.
Fuck those babies.
Fuck those babies.
They don't get it. No, honestly, I feel like they're never going to get it.
And honestly, I hate them, and I'm okay saying that because I can own myself, you know.
This will be the part where you're like, we should take this part out.
Should we
talk about hating the babies?
Hate babies? Yeah. Where does your journey with comedy start? Were you a funny kid? Did you always want to do performance stuff?
I think as a kid, I got laughs and I didn't really understand why I was getting them. But all I knew is I loved those belly laughs that I would get, you know? Mm-hmm. And I knew then there was really nothing better. So being authentically myself and getting big laughs felt like the best thing in the world. So meaning, like, my sister did, my mother entered my sister in a pageant once because my sister was very attractive baby, a sexy baby, no, just cute. And
well, let's go down that road. Let's heighten that. No, that's good, Jet.
She was hot. I'll show you pictures. Look, we'll post pictures at the end of this. And so when my mom gets there, my sister's maybe 4 or something. And when she gets to the woman at the pageant said, which ones are you entering? And my mom thought, oh my God, I'm going to play the odds. Like, it's Vegas. She's like, I'm going to enter all my kids. So she throws all of us in the pageant.
How many kids?
There's 3 of us.
Okay.
I'm like 2.5 maybe. My brother's maybe 7. He's very smart. He's a natural director. And so my mom goes, we're from Boston. She goes, Jim, tell Jet what to do. You know? And so my brother backstage tells me to go to eat. There's a long runway. And he goes, when you see a bouquet, do a turn. So then there's bouquets along the runway. So he's like, just do a turn. And I'll do whatever my brother says because he's great, you know? And he's like, when you get to the end, there's going to be a bunch of people. Those are the judges. He said, blow them a kiss and you'll get a trophy. So I'm 2.5. I go out. I do a turn. Anytime I see a bouquet of flowers. And my mom said the whole audience is like, oh my God, because I'm the youngest in it. And then I get to the end and I throw the judges a kiss. And she said the whole audience just melts. And then I look at the judges and I said, no, where's my trophy?
Yeah.
And she said the audience went crazy, like just dying laughing. And in that moment, I realized I never wanted a trophy. I just wanted that laugh for the rest of my life. It was like, can you imagine going to the Oscars? It sounds like the worst to me. I just not my thing. I'm more like a dog. I'm like, give me a ball, give me a field, let's play. And I'm like, for me, I would just want that sound, that deep belly laugh where people are laughing at you. They're not laughing with you because I wanted the trophy.
Right. But so did their laughter in the moment light you up?
I don't think I was just like, what is this? What is this sound?
So
you know?
in that case, I would argue that they were laughing with you because you weren't, like, it didn't make you upset. You weren't crying and being like, but I wanted the trophy, like, which feels like, you know, not in concert. But it's like, even this was them, you learning that they are on your soul's side because your soul desires that frequency, you know? There's something to that, I think.
Totally. Yeah, I always say there's a hardware to a clown, and the hardware is you love the laugh more than you do your pride. You know, it's like the hardware is like, I just want the laugh. I don't care if I'm the butt of the joke. I'm the butt of the joke in the way that I'm being sincere and I want the trophy, and they're kind of laughing at my desire, my greed. But truthfully, having everyone love you, what could be better than that?
Right. Yeah, you're pointing out something that gets at the heart of comedy as well, and especially clown, which like distills it. But it's like people seeing their own shitty nature in something, like
Totally.
like you as a 2.5-year-old, it's like, of course you want the trophy, and everyone in the audience sees their own, you know, shallowness or whatever in that, but adults aren't that honest. No adult would be like, where's my trophy? So like,
unless it's Donald Trump, it's like nobody's saying where's my trophy.
Yeah, and he's the biggest clown, you know. It's like, that's why. It's like,
we're like, you're not supposed to say that out loud.
Right. Talk about people not being in on the joke. Like, that whole sect of humanity is like, do you guys not think this is funny? This guy like shits his pants during press conferences and eats bags of McDonald's and like, yeah, my God.
And screams, where's my trophies?
And
you know, he wants all the trophies.
Right. And the trophies are of him, and the award is for being him. And and put it on the top of a ballroom, and put the ballroom on a building, and put the building on top of space. Where's my trophy? So that sort of tilted you in the direction of performance.
Yeah, and I had an older brother that was willing to work with me. He was like, we're going to do this show. So he would plan these shows at like old folks' homes. Like, what are they called? What's the correct term? You know, people who are about to die.
Pits,
those,
yeah.
You know, the disgusting old people where they live. It sounds like I'm so ageist in this podcast. I hate babies. I hate old people.
But you love sexy
retirement
babies.
Yeah. Retirement communities. I don't know where people go and they're taken care of. It's sweet. I do. English is my first language, believe it or not. But my brother was really proactive. He was like, we need stage time. So he would call at 8 years old. He would call and book us gigs at these places. And my mom, without questioning anything, she goes, where do I drop you off? And she would drop us off at these retirement homes, and we would do shows for people. And of course they loved it because they weren't getting much entertainment. And we would do a review. We would dance. I did tap dancing. He did tap dancing, gymnastics, and then we did comedy routines. So we were doing reviews. And I remember getting changed in the bathrooms, and the nurses would help change me because I was 4 and 5 years old, and they would give me pudding pops and M&Ms. I remember that being like, this is how we were paid, and that's all you want as a kid.
This story is like as if you grew up in the 20s. This is so out of its time.
And I read Isadora Duncan's autobiography, and she's sort of the mother of modern dance, touring in the 20s. And it was her and her brother, and they would go to these really like, wealthy people's homes, and they would do dance, modern dance, before it was a modern dance. It was like, what is this? They're barefoot, just moving to the music. And then they would feed them with whatever desserts were left over, and they would overeat and vomit because they were so hungry, because they were so poor. And I remember reading it and being like, this sounds familiar, actually.
Yeah, you're like, what's unusual about this? Why did she write this down? This is just like
her and her brother are just dancing for candy. That's normal.
Right. How amazing of your brother, too. Like, just as an 8-year-old, we need stage time.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, this is what we're meant to do, you know?
Yeah.
And he'd work pieces with me, and he'd be like, do it like this, do it. And he was like tough. He was really tough, but he was loving. And so it was like, to me, when I finally met McNapier, I was like, I know you. I've had you before, like super specific and super loving. I mean, I just love Mick to the end of the world. And
yeah, he's the best.
And so it was like, I know this person who has insane aesthetic and will help you get there and will help you figure out how you thought you got there first. But really, it's also his aesthetic, but he's so brilliant that it's like, no, you trust me, you're going to like this.
Yeah, there's such an empowerment in that, like on both sides, because it's empowering to have someone see something in you that you don't see and to know how to kindle that flame. And then it's empowering to reach the other side and know that it's you doing it, you know.
Totally.
What a gift. Totally. Yeah. Did your brother grow up to be a director or an actor or anything? You
know, he was in high school, and then he went into the visual arts and kind of stayed there. But he has a strong aesthetic. He was the one who was like, Jet, you got to be in O'Mary. He saw O'Mary and was like, we got to do that somewhere. I did audition for the touring company, and I remember he was so excited for me because he was like, this is an amazing show. So he still loves the theater, and we still love to talk theater. And I'm hoping he produces something someday that I'm involved in. It would be fun to collaborate.
Yeah. I mean, you can start that ball rolling, Just call him up and be like, I need stage time.
Yeah. He's more like calling me being like, you need stage time.
Right.
He was like, we could do it. He's like, I'll help produce it in Palm Springs. And so maybe after the touring company's done, that might be something we do together as a fun family affair.
Yeah.
He gets to hang out in Palm Springs with his husband, and I get to just do a great show.
Where did improv enter the picture?
Well, my brother was in this show that was sort of like Tony and Tina's Wedding, but it was in New England, and it was called Godfather's Anniversary.
I was going to say Parker and Busy's Wedding.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Sorry, what was it called?
It was the Godfather's Anniversary. So similar feel, Italian wedding, Italian event, big characters. And there was a woman in the cast who was playing an Irish woman that had been, brought into the family, who was like pregnant and drinking and just wild. And she actually got pregnant, so she couldn't be in the show anymore. And he goes, my sister can do it. And they go, is she 21? He goes, yeah, I was 17. This only actually continues to sort of add to this like story of like this was 1920, Nobody cared. Nobody checked IDs in the 20s.
Right.
And so I get like, they were paying me cash, so they didn't know. And I was supposed to drink, and I had a fake belly, and I was drinking at 17 as like the character, and I'd go and work the tables and talk to them, and he was the estranged nephew who came back, and nobody wanted him there because he was gay, and we got to play these big characters.
Yeah.
So I was really appreciative that he was like, hey, do you want to do this? And then I would have a few drinks, and then I would remember the next morning being in the shower just leaning against the wall because I was going to high school, and taking the shower and just like leaning on the wall of the shower, like time to get back and take my physics exam.
Right. Lenny Bruce, like time to put this cigar out and get to my physics class. Good Lord. I love this. This is like the life that I wanted.
Well, it was really fun. And I knew it was like all I loved to do was just make believe and be an idiot. And that's what I would call it, because when my mother's like, what are you going to do? And she's like, are you going to act? And I was like, well, I'm just going to do this until I die. And she thought that was morbid. And I was like, no, I don't think that's morbid at all. It's sort of just saying like, I'm going to make pretend, I'm going to play, and then I'll cross over. Like,
right.
I don't know, like there was no goal,
Yeah. I mean, that is the dream, is just to play and be creative, and then also be able to pay your rent and survive until you can't anymore.
Totally.
And we all have a day where we can't survive anymore. We all do it.
Yeah, totally. We all have a day when we can't survive anymore is a great way to say death.
Yeah. We die. We perish. Then at some point, did you start training formally? Did you go to theater school? Did you do the improv programs? What was your journey there?
So I applied. I went with my brother to some event, and it was like something to do with acting, because he did do a little bit of acting early in college. So he like brought me to one of his classes, and his teacher said, the best school for acting is NYU. And I was like 16 or 17. So I was like, okay, I'll go there. And so I applied early decision, and I got in. And then my mother said, you can't go there. You're going to owe $100,000 when you get out. She was just like, that's insane. And so I was like, oh, shit, what do I do now? Like all the auditions had passed. I'd done early decision, being like, I guess that's the good school where I can learn. So I got a scholarship to UMass, and I went there just to buy time. Like, okay, I'll go to UMass and I'll figure it out. Like, what do I want to do?
I guess I'll use this scholarship I got just to buy time.
This old dumb, how much? So I went there, and I just took some acting classes. Like, let me find out. But they didn't really have like an acting program. They had like a general theater program, but I could start. And I was walking through the student union one day, and I heard people laughing in a room, and I poked in, and I said, what's, kind of like, look, and they're like, hey, come on in, we're doing auditions. And I was like, for what? And they're like, improv. And I was like, okay. So I jumped in, and I do remember when I was in plays in high school, the first few weeks when we were improvising was my favorite part. And then we'd get to the script, and I'd be like, shit, I loved those first few weeks when everything was just made up. And so I auditioned and then I got in that group. So it was just because I walked by and I heard them, and they were like, yeah, you're part of us. Part of us. It's the 1920s, kid, and you're part of this.
Bring your trunk into this classroom. Wipe that ash off your face.
We just drank bootleg whiskey and yeah. And
Out
so
of a boot. Yeah.
It was so fun. I don't know if you were part of a college troupe, but like, Jesus.
At the very end of my college, like my last semester, someone started one, and it was even that was a blast. I think we had 1 or 2 shows, but it was like us figuring out short form games in my living room, and yeah, it was the best. Were you doing short form or long form at that point?
Great question. We started with short form. But then I did a semester in Hawaii because I was like, I can use this scholarship, but go and study other places. University of Hawaii had an acting program. So I was like, I could take some acting class. I could learn about this acting thing. So I had good teachers because good teachers wanted to live in Hawaii. So when I was there was one group on the island that was a long form group. That wasn't the college group, but it was like a group, and it had like a taxi driver, a chemist. It had like a few college students. It was such a fun hodgepodge. So I show up. And they were like, we're doing long form. And I was like, I had read Truth and Comedy. And I was like, I want to learn this long form. And there was this woman named Shannon. And she said, guys, I'm leaving the island. I got into the Second City Conservatory. And I remember being like, my God, that's amazing.
A conservatory. My God. Take me with you.
And then cut 2 years later where I'm teaching in the conservatory and I'm like, it's really random who gets in, actually. It's really based on really nothing.
Yeah. Well, except for the listeners of this podcast who have gotten in, you're incredible and it's based on your talent. But for those who haven't gotten in, it doesn't mean you're not good.
It actually means you're probably very good, and they're afraid. They're afraid
of you. Yeah.
So I did long form there, and I remember being like, someday I'd really love, to learn this long form. But okay, so the group I was in at UMass was called Mission Improbable. I'm not bragging, but I just want to let you know I was in Mission Improbable.
Amazing. Lloyd has been a guest on this very podcast.
I didn't know how to bring it up in a way that was humble, but I also just needed to let you know in case you hadn't read my resume.
Well, I did, but I thought that yours was Mission Improvable, and so I thought it was a totally different thing. I thought it was a geometry geometry club.
So
yeah. Okay. So
they all moved to Chicago, and they stayed in contact. These sweethearts were like, Jet, you got to move to Chicago. It's amazing. There's this woman with Liz Allen. That's amazing. They sent me postcards because it was this is real. This is real. Back to the 1920s. They sent me postcards. And I remember being like, I'm going to go to Chicago. And so I got to Chicago, and they literally hooked me up. They were like, here's Liz Allen. I showed up in Chicago, 2000s, August 2000. And they were like, there's an audition at the playground. And this next day I arrived, it was like I was auditioning at the playground. Like I was like in it, and they were helping me, and I was like in classes and meeting people and learning and taking from I saw Kevin Dorff probably the second night I arrived, and I was like, what is this? And then I saw Stephanie Weir, and I was like, I've made the right decision.
Yeah. Man, you're like the nesting doll inside of Stephanie Weir. Like you two play so similarly.
Oh, well, that's the greatest compliment I've ever gotten. Because I was like, who is this? I mean, her mind is just unbelievable.
Incredible. Well, and what you both have is this like malleability, like a character malleability where you can just like amoeba yourselves into someone else. And it's the biggest magic trick. And both very good at like absorbing yourself into an accent. Like, how did you get so good at accents?
Well, come from a family of mimics, but more because when my mother tells a story, she's telling everybody's voice. She's doing everybody's voice. And so when you grow up around somebody who plays everyone, she would just naturally say, and she's like, then I call Sylvia, and she's like, I don't know, I cannot be there, whatever. She would just like, say, she would, now we say that's racist, but then we said it was an art form.
It's not racist if it's Italian.
That's what and
everything else,
trust
or
me,
Irish.
Trust me, I've got this Italian character I'm working on because I'm like, I got this. I can do this. I'm allowed. Because I need these big characters, but it's like, how far left and right can you go? I got it. Whatever I get it. I totally get privilege. So it's like, you got to be mindful.
Of course. Yeah. I'm not advocating for, I don't mean to make light of it, but it is, it's an incredible skill to have that ear and then be able to make your mouth do that. You know what I mean? Like, you did a bit on, what's Brad and Mike's podcast, Business Trips.
Business trips.
You did like this Southern, like this Alabama lady, and it's like the most accurate. You hold it for so long. Can you throw a little bit of that? Do you have that at the ready?
I'm trying to remember. I think maybe I played like this lady. Was it like this? Right? I was like, I do love it, but also, and I love a woman who just sort of trails up and then is she sleeping? No, she's back. She's back. I've been awake. Sorry. Just
yeah. Man, it's fun. Is she drunk? Is she sleeping? Is she just tired?
Yeah. She coming back from a really long day in the mines. It's hard to know.
Are any of those characters drawn from like people you actually know? Like, are you templating people as you collect them in life?
I would say almost all of them come from somebody who I saw. And it's so much of how I walk through the world where I see somebody and I'm like, oh my God. Immediately it's material that I get a lot of messages from friends of, I saw a character today that you would love to play, Like they send shit to me. I'm like, look at this hand model. This feels like a Jet character, And I'm like, oh, thanks for thinking of me. Yeah. But I think I pull from real life. And that's partly why they might feel like there's a sensitivity or a love for them, is because I'm like, almost the same way I would say like a dog. I'm kind of dog crazy where I'm like, oh my God, look at that dog. That's how I feel about these interesting characters, where I love them first. In order to study them deeply, I love them. And I have a much easier time playing a voice of somebody who I love. So like, I have a yoga teacher that sometimes I'll do an impression of because I just love her so much. And people will go, oh, do you do all the other yoga teachers? I said, oh, I can, but I hadn't thought to, but it was like, this person is just, she's got this, like, hey guys, go ahead, get comfortable, lay down. It's just, you just are like, oh my God, I'm safe,
Yeah. She's got a case of the Jodie Foster mouth.
Hey guys. She's like, whatever, maybe relax, maybe don't. And you're like, oh my God, maybe I relax, maybe I don't. It's like, maybe everything is such an invitation.
Yeah. Today I invite you to maybe get stressed out in this class. Whatever feels good for you.
She's got a little bit of that to her where she's playful, where she's like, hey, who am I to tell you what to do? And you're like, yeah, like the playfulness is actually the most powerful thing about her presence because it's infectious. And it's like not what she's saying.
I love your analogy to dog breeds, not to reduce people to dogs, but it's so like... That is so apt, that metaphor, because like breeds are so specific and they have such specific quirks, and like you're in the hands of like something very unique and quirky and eccentric, and you love it for that. Yes. Like I love to see a Chihuahua grab a toy and parade it around and try to show me the toy, and and I love a big sloppy droopy loving Great Dane. But yeah, to see people through that lens and be like, oh look, here's a slow shuffling, lazy walker, or like here, it's a cool lens.
Well, my friend lived next to a guy who was kind of challenging. He was like kind of a downer and would kind of trap him in long conversations. And I said, I've met this guy. I go, that guy's funny. I go, why don't you play him? And I go, that way when he's trying to trap you, you're just studying him. And then he contacted me a few weeks later and he goes, I can't get enough of that guy now. You know, he's like, now I'm just watching him being like, I'm going to use this. I'm going to play this. And it's like, yeah, now he's your muse.
Yeah. You go to his apartment, he's just got paintings of this guy. Like,
well, he's
weirdo.
like, you know, the crazy part is once I was like, oh yeah, I could like play this guy. He was like, I didn't see him anymore. It was like I couldn't see him enough. And I was like, yeah, isn't that funny? Like, it took care of it to be like, what? To me, it's like I'm big on gamifying life. Mm-hmm. If you can figure out the game, then you're always in a flow state. So it's like, what's the game of this guy? How can I be more creative than the situation? Which is, this guy's funny because he's such a downer and he's such a slow talker. And be like, what you been doing? Like, normally no one wants to be trapped by that guy unless you're like, I'll be playing you. So like, continue on.
Yeah. One of the loneliest parts of being single is like having moments like that pop up in your life and feeling like you don't have that person to call and replay the whole story for, because it's like friends don't have as much love for that as a partner does. And I clock that a lot, that like one of the things I'm most grateful for with a partner is like, I can grab all these details and these like shitty moments, and it makes for such a great story later. My shitty experience turns into a great retelling, you know?
100%. If something's really annoying, I'm just going, how do I retell this in a way that will make my friends laugh? Mm-hmm. That's the immediate flip on things.
Yeah. Let's talk improv. Let's talk like straight up improv. When you were in Chicago, you were on The Reckoning, one of the all-time great teams. Do you find that on a team like that, that's like a larger ensemble, that you are gravitating towards like always playing characters, or do you play yourself ever, or is it half and half?
I mean, for me, I'm kind of always playing characters.
Always a character.
Yeah, only because I am boring. That's just the truth. That is the truth. I am boring in the way that I could never do stand-up because I don't have these huge opinions, and I don't like to like shake things up, and I don't like to criticize. It's just not my brain. I'm not in the habit. So nobody wants to see someone get on stage and be like, you know, everything's just kind of fine, you know? And I can, like I said, like I gamify everything so there's no drama in my life, you know? So it's like, that's a boring persona to put on stage. So I have to drop into other people in order to have really, really big opinions and in order to have deep desires. Because I do so much mental gymnastics in my own life and I meditate so much that I'm like, nothing's really that big of a deal. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
so funny. You've watered down your own desires and complaints to nothing. And yeah.
Well, because if you do the work of letting go of attachments, the minute something's rough, you're like, I can see where you're coming from too. And that's really boring on stage. So I've learned through this practice that what I apply in life is completely different than on stage. On stage, everything pulls my strings. So I pull my strings. Like I'm a puppet and I'm pulling my strings for the, you know, I would say for the joy and for the catharsis of the audience. I'm pulling all my strings so they can be like, look at that human having, you know, the full experience, experiencing the muchness of life, ha, 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 whatever. But in life, I'm never pulling the strings, you know? It's like, no, it's exhausting. I feel like
cutting the strings.
Yeah, exactly. Like monks cut their strings. But if you want to like live a householder's life where you're just like living and you're trying to have partnership and friends and a job, you have strings, but you have to learn how to not pull them. So it's actually perfect to be on stage and to pull them just on like as hard as you can on purpose. So you're like, wait, I pull my strings. Nobody pulls my strings. I pull my strings. So that way, when someone comes up to you and shoves you, who's a stranger, you go, I'm not engaging. Like, I don't pull strings. I walk away because I don't want to engage in this.
Do you feel like it's helpful for your practice to have that catharsis on stage? Like you can kind of get your frustrated yells out and you
totally.
Can have that be an outlet?
I can play lustful. I can play desperate. I can play all the things that a human or any being, let's be honest, any animal has this, which is like these deep desires and these deep attachments. I get to play them because I'm in this form for like a minute. Let's play them. But equally, if I do that all the time, that's exhausting. So I do it on stage when an audience is present so that the energy is multiplying. So I give some energy, just like ATP, you got to give energy to get energy. And so it's like you're giving energy and then the audience gives it back to you. And like Brishnikov, I guess, a friend of mine trained with him and he said, I don't even think of myself as a dancer. He said, I'm a multiplier of energy. And I was like, whoa.
Boner.
He's like moving and then he's getting the energy from the audience to move more, basically. And then he's moving. And so that's this cycle. And that's how I feel. And I'd be curious if you feel that on stage where you're deep in the cycle on a good night, where you're like, oh, I'm playing and they're liking it. It's the same if you're on a date and someone thinks you're hilarious. And then you're just like, oh, I see what you like. And then you're playing that. And then they're laughing. And that's giving you way more energy to go into the reserves to find new shit you've never found before.
Yes. My motto in all of life, not just for stage, is good audiences are rewarded with better theater. So it happens to me on stage as the performer, and it becomes this like perpetual motion machine. Totally. But in life, I'm trying to always be a good audience so that I'm rewarded with better theater. Like if I notice every flower, I start seeing better and better ones. And, you know,
I love that.
Yeah, like what you're looking for shows up because your eyes are open for it, you know.
Totally. You play with the sensitivity first.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sensitivity to what is.
Are you a super sensitive person? Like, do you feel like sort of an empathicness for humanity? Like when you're walking by these strange characters in the park, do you kind of feel their underlying emotion?
Yeah, I mean, and I would argue that anyone can be sensitive, and everyone is deeply empathic if they have this, because we all have the same source. And so it's like I feel that, and so I channel it into this art form. Otherwise, if you're not channeling it somewhere, that's exhausting. So it's like my empathy is used in my art form. And hopefully in other ways. I mean, I also practice traditional Chinese medicine, which is all about energetics. So it makes sense, you know, and for someone maybe on the outside, they'd be like, that's so weird that, you know, you practice Chinese medicine and then you improvise. And I'm like, oh, to me, they're just Taoist art forms. One is, you know, they're in slightly different arenas, but they're the same principles, which is I'm not controlling. You know?
Yeah, sorry. You're not controlling.
And more to put that in the affirmative, I'm here to be in the flow, you know, to be in what is and to follow it and to play in it. And you know, if you've ever listened to Alan Watts talk about Taoism, he was like, the Taoists are the most, he says they're clowns. And it's like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah. I've had some moments on mushrooms of like total enlightenment, and it's always hilarious. And it's always it's like, and it's funny that I ever thought it was elusive. And then when I come back to earth, I'm like, damn, I can't get it back.
You can't.
I know
that cosmic joke is it's always there, but our sensitivity allows us to pass. And that's what part of the reason I love meditation so much is it makes me more permeable. So I'm just lighter and I want less and I experience more. And so it's, for me, it's why I love improv in the first place. It's a flow state, you know, it's like,
yeah, what a great way to what a great integration to be a practicing meditator who then can practice non-judgment of characters on stage and non-judgment of your own ideas and non-judgment of like it's like, do you feel that you're able to just dive quickly into things without getting in your head about it?
Yeah, and the audience can tell when you love the character. They can feel the difference. And when you love the character, they also feel loved by you because judgment is a blanket. It doesn't discriminate. So if you're judgmental of yourself and everyone else. But if you're like, hey, you guess what, guys? I'm aware of the cosmic joke. I don't even exist. You know, we're just posing as separate. The audience is like, well, this bitch isn't going to be mean to me. You know, I'm safe to love her.
How do you? I'm asking this now, like from the shoes of listeners, because I've had the people ask me this as students before. How do you love a character that is despicable, or where you are like, it's required of you to enter the scene as mean dad or whatever? How do you, Jet, fall in love with that person in an instant?
Well, in everyone, there is a shred of all of us. And you figure out like why that mean dad is being mean because they're so worried about their kids. You know, you have to play the truth of it. So I think of improv more like acting than maybe most people, where I'm like, no, you're playing the deepest desire of this character and nobody thinks they're evil. No one. Even the evil villain, no one thinks of themselves as evil. They just have a want that they feel is very true to their organism. And so you're just playing that true want. And you're not yourself looking and being like, yeah, but they also have all of this. No, you're just playing that. You're just playing that one thing, which is I'm going to protect my child. Even if they're unaware that it will, you know, maybe shrink their child's heart, you know, to tell them that they can't be a baseball player, whatever the scenario is. They're not thinking about that because they're just acting out of their fear. So if you can be like, but I have fears too. So you figure out where you live together. And you're like, I have this in me as well. I'm fearful sometimes too. Because if you think like, I'm never fearful, you know, it's like, how do you play these characters? And my mentor, Paolo Coletto, was a beautiful clown teacher from Italy. And she would always say, we have everyone inside of us. You know, the saint and the sinner, we have everyone inside of us. And that felt very true to me when she said it. I was like, yes, we do. And I think that's why we love people like Meryl Streep, is she obviously has deep empathy for whoever she's playing. And I would say the difference with us is we have that empathy for who we're playing, but we also have the split brain where we're also present as Jet going, isn't this fun? And Meryl Streep shouldn't be doing that. She's doing a different art form. But in clown or in improv, there's two shows going on. You're playing the character, but you're also Jet underneath because you're also writing the show and directing the show there because it's all happening in real time. And the audience loves to see the two tones. It's very magical. And those two tones play against each other and create a natural tension that make us all want to laugh. You know, it's like when Will Ferrell is like spitting and he's red and he's angry, but you see his eyes are flickering. And you know that in the back of his mind, he's just like, this is so fun. And look at, I'm making all my friends laugh. So you're like, ooh, and that's why we feel permission to laugh, but we can't pinpoint it. We're like, why do we laugh at him, but we don't laugh at Philip Seymour Hoffman doing the same role?
Right. You're right. It's the twinkle in the eye, which makes it safe because it shows us, oh, he loves this. He's not actually angry. And we are so perceptive to emotions. You know, we can detect that twinkle that makes it safe. Yeah, that's wild. I want to talk about two-prov. You do two-prov with Scott Adsit. Arguably the best improvisers of our time. Talk to me about playing with him and what form do you two do and how do you play together?
So Scott Adsit is unlike anyone I've ever played with. And I recently had this epiphany where I had played with him for a while and then we took some time off. And in that time off, I was subconsciously judging other people. I didn't know I was doing it, but because I had played with Scott for so long, when I was in scenes with other people, I'd be like, Scott wouldn't do that. Like I was a subconscious. I didn't know I was doing it, but I wanted everyone to be Scott instead of being themselves. But I just gotten so attached. And I didn't know until finally I went, why am I not having as much fun with them? And I'm like, I want them to be Scott. So I had to call and tell Scott this. I was like, listen, I realized I've been wanting everybody to be you and I need to let that go. And he said it was the nicest voicemail he got of just being like, I guess not everyone can be you, you know?
It's so funny. Listen, I
didn't even know I was doing it. I didn't know I was doing it. Because I was like getting a little sticky in my improv. And I was like, why am I so sticky? I'm like, what am I doing? Because I knew it's always your shit. Always, you know, of like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I'm like wanting people to play like him. And they should play like them. But what Scott does that's so special is that when we play with someone, we have the opportunity to give them something that is really open. Like I could pass you an orb, and in that orb, you have so much surface area to play off of. And that's how Scott plays. And most people send each other like a line segment or a tiny dot to be like, here's the surface area you get to play off of. And Scott's literally just sending these huge orbs to me and letting me play with these huge offers because he's not making things small with his words. And most people subconsciously try to shrink the scene to make it safe. And we aren't. We're trying to blow it up a little bit to make it unsafe. And so the show was always unpredictable to me, which I loved. But when people start sending me smaller options, these line segments, I go, oh, now I know where the show's going. And I would be a little bit like, why are you doing that? Now we both know where the show's going.
Yeah, I understand the metaphor. It's wonderful. But when we talk about this like in a practical, real world sense, what is the difference? Is it that one is trying to be more dialogue based and clever and the other is full of rich performative subtext and emotion? Or is it that they're both dialogue based, but one has more details in it? Or what is it?
So with Scott deeply trusts that the show just needs to be what it is and that he doesn't have to be funny. Because when somebody puts pressure on themselves to make something happen, whether it's funny or interesting or whatever you want to say, when they put that pressure on themselves, they shrink the scene. And he doesn't put any of that pressure on himself. He just has this trust that it's like going to be rich, and he's a great actor, and maybe his acting background helps this, but he has unbelievable faith. Like unshakable faith. And I think like Blaine, I would do a show with Blaine, and he kind of has that unshakable faith too, where they're just like, they're kind of free. And so we're like, where is it going to go? And so when somebody starts to shrink down the scene to be like, let's start locking it in just in case to be safe. And it's subconscious. I don't think anyone's aware that they're doing it. I do it all the time by accident, where I start making the scene a little small just so that we know where we are. Where are we in the scene?
Yeah.
And it's like, the truth is, in real life, we're never trying to figure out who we are to each other because we just kind of feel who we are to each other. I'm not being like, wow, you're a podcast host and an improviser. It just seems so weird to start to label things. And so what happens, what you said is true. It's like he's there for the rich artistic experience, and other people are trying to put a lot of dialogue on it to make sense of it. And the minute someone's trying to make sense of it, I'm like, oh no, I'm here to live in the unknown, and they want to live in the known. And that's not the same want, the same deep want. Now, living in the unknown means that everything else has to be incredibly rich. You have to be in your body. You have to feel the motor of your character. You have to see everything around you. You have to be in technicolor of the dream. Yes, you do, because, and don't get me wrong, I'm willing to let that specific dream go. If something he says negates my vision, I let it go and something else comes up. I always say there's a million dreams knocking at the door behind the next dream, one dream behind the next dream. So if I think he's a judge and suddenly it's clear he's my boyfriend, it doesn't really matter. I can let that go, but I still feel a little bit afraid of what his verdict is going to be, even as my boyfriend. Yeah. It's the same energy of, you decide my fate, you know?
Yeah, you're applying. You can easily shed the who, what, where that you thought it was, because the how is what's important. And if he's saying it in a judgmental way, then he's still the judge of you, even though he's not literally in a courtroom. And now you can apply that. Yeah.
That's it. That's well said.
Yeah, take the fruit off the tree and the shape of the tree is the same. It doesn't matter if it's growing apples or oranges or whatever. What a beautiful way to play. I was just teaching a workshop recently where I could tell that everyone was so doing their checkbox homework of getting who, what, and where out at the top of the scene. And I was like, we can let that go a little bit. Like, it is helpful to have that stuff, and it's very helpful for the audience. We don't want every conversation to just be two people in a vacuum, but you can discover it a little bit more, and what's happening between you is the most important, the prime directive.
100%.
You and Scott are on the roster for ImprovCon, the first ever ImprovCon. What is it?
It is just like Comic-Con. It is a celebration of improv, and it isn't a festival. It's different. It's a convention, and I'm pretty sure they told me, I got to check that it's convention, not conference. It's convention, but I'll double check that.
I think it might be confectionery school. I think it might be you go learn to make cakes, but I'm going to check my work.
This is why I do improv. But it's been an amazing experience, and I've been involved with the process of it only because I was down there teaching at the time that they were starting to create this whole thing. And they were like, who are some of the people that you think should be there? And I was like, well, TJ and Dave, and I was like,
ever hear of them much?
And I was like, Stephanie Weir, Bob Dassey, these are just mind-blowing performers. And then I was like, and Mick Napier, we can't have something called improv without Mick Napier, So I was just sort of asking. I was like, have you talked to them, And they're like, okay, they were very open. And I will be doing my show with Scott there, and they've got amazing acts, but it's different than a festival in the way that it's really about a celebration. It's idea sharing, it's connection, it's community. There'll be all sorts of events like panels and like real I want to get rid of the word of networking because I think it has a negative connotation, but like a real way of connecting with people and a way of going deeper. I think it's like a real desire to go deeper into it. What Comic-Con is for, that whole world of like, it's not just to go and be like, we know it. It's to be like, what don't I know?
Just even for the performance roster, that would be worth the trip. TJ and Dave, Weird Ass, and you and Scott, and like Messing and Rachel Mason are playing.
Yes.
Yeah. So good job curating that.
Well, selfishly, it's like I get to go and be around all my heroes.
For part 2 of this episode, go to yesalso.supercast.com. If you like this podcast and you want double the content, head over to yesalso.supercast.com and subscribe. You can also help us out for free by subscribing to us on YouTube and talking us up to your improv communities. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer in one of our Q&A episodes, or a topic that you think would make a great bonus episode, put it in a 5-star review. If you're a theater who would like to host us for a live recording and improv show, let us know at yesalsopod@gmail.com. A very special thanks to our producer, Ryan Rosenberg, audio and video editor, Brian Kessler, and Britt Faye, who does our marketing. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. No, we won't, Suzi. That's not how podcasts work. They won't even see us. They will listen to us, so it's actually the opposite of both things you said. Thanks for listening, and you will listen to us next week. Maybe. We don't know.